Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
I think you like that song, Gwen.
I do. Our video producer picked that music. I didn't have anything to do with it, but it's catchy. I like it. So anyway, welcome to the June 7th edition of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, along with my co-host,
Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Good evening, everyone.
And we're excited about tonight's lineup. And we're excited that you're joining us once again. We really appreciate your listening in, watching, if you're on the podcast, if you're listening, or if you're on Facebook Live, where you get to interact with us. That's the best way to watch it if you can. That way you get to interact with us and all the guests that are going to be on the show. So we have a wonderful show for you tonight. We're excited about our lineup. Before we start our lineup, I do want to acknowledge two people we've lost in the African American literature space in the last couple of weeks. We lost Gwen Osborne, who was a longtime book reviewer and book enthusiast, and she was well known in African American literature circles. And we also lost Sharon Ewell Foster, who was an inspirational and historical fiction author. So we send out our condolences and our prayers and well wishes to the families of those two authors, and also to all of their supporters and fans and friends. So, the African American literature space is a close-knit community, and when someone's lost, we all feel the loss. So tonight's lineup is an amazing jam-packed lineup, and we are excited about it. We're also going to give away 3 books at the top of the show. So I'm going to announce the lineup first, and then we're going to give away the books, and then we'll get started. So our lineup for tonight is Marcus Bridgewater. He's an author and plant enthusiast. We have Leslie Dotson, who's an author and international traveler. Kreceda Tyler. She works with Entice with the new imprint at Kensington called Black Odyssey Media, and Miss Tyler is the acquisitions editor. So she's going to talk about the Black Odyssey line of books, what they're looking for, how's it going when they're launching and all that. And then our final guest will be Sonya Curry. If you all are watching the NBA finals, her son, Steph Curry, is in the NBA finals, and he's on my team, the Golden State Warriors, and they've been my team for several years. I'm not just
So you're not a bandwagon?
No, I'm not a bandwagon fan. I've been watching them for at least 10 years. And she has a memoir. She's going to talk about her family, her experiences, all of that. So you'll be able to ask her questions as well. So our first guest is in the waiting room, but I do want to give away these 3 books at the top of the show. So pay attention to the trivia questions so we can do this in an efficient and orderly way. Our first book is called Greenland by David Santos Donaldson. This book is, this is an advanced reading copy. The book comes out this month. I'm not sure which day this month, but the question is, Kip Starling, the book's main character, has how many weeks until his publisher's book deadline? So this is the character in the book named Kip Starling, has how many weeks before his publisher's book deadline? If you answer the question, you get the this advanced reading copy of the book. Our next one is called On Rotation, and the author of this book is Shirlene Obuabi, I think. Obuabi. Obuabi. And the question for this book is, this is a novel. The question is, the author, Shirlene, practices what field of medicine? So this is a novel about medicine, a medical doctor, and the author herself is a medical doctor. So what field of medicine does she practice? And the final book, this is a children's book, is called Mama in Congress. And this is about Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. And it's by her as well. And the question for this book is, Rashida Tlaib is a congresswoman from which Midwestern state? So we will check on the at the end of the first interview and find out who won these books.
And y'all bear with me because my other computer just crashed on me and I am restarting it. So
okay.
When you hear the questions, I will post them in as soon as I get restarted.
Okay. Well, we're going to bring on our first guest. His name is Marcus Bridgewater. And he's an author and plant enthusiast. His book is called How to Grow, Nurture Your Garden, Nurture Yourself. So he's joining us. He's surrounded by plants, and that's his thing, apparently, growing things.
That is the most beautiful background I've seen in this entire 2 years.
And all of the plants are living. It looks like everything's live. So welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. Oh, we need to unmute so we can hear you.
Yes. How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Okay, welcome to the show. And I see you have your book there. Can you hold it up for us so our audience can see it? And that's you on the cover, I'm sure. So tell us about your book and what message you want readers to gain from reading it.
So a bit about the book. It is a self-help book written through the lens of the garden. The tagline is nurture your garden, nurture yourself. And we go over mental health, physical fitness, and spiritual awareness. And the idea is to encourage people to think about their wellness holistically. And I'm wanting to do that because I want people to reach their full potential. And I think many of us feel stunted in our growth, but that's because we've not actually been working on ourselves to grow in a direction that we really want to grow. So I want to give people encouragement and inspiration and motivation to seize the opportunities that are right there in front of them, despite the challenges they may be facing.
Okay, well, that's definitely something that's needed, especially after the 2 years of COVID, which I'm sure a lot of people lost ground in terms of just developing, because many of us were so isolated, and some still are isolated. And humans need human contact. That is something that we need. And also we need growing things around us.
And yeah, just like what you said, we do need growing things around us, living things around us, because just having plants, and I've been trying to get plants in my house since I moved in here, and I haven't accomplished it yet. But you're just having those plants around, talking to them, nurturing them. I have one plant in here. I've been doing pretty well with it. It's still growing and it's still green. So I think I'm doing something right.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. You can just go outside. Trees are hopefully everywhere. And if you don't have trees nearby, you should speak to your local officials and try and get a park, access to a park, at least a bus ride, because truly we need access to nature. And so the thing you said there about it's important that we have people and we need people. Community is super important. That's one of the things I touch on in the book. Kindness, patience, and positivity go hand in hand with this thought process for me, because I think a lot of us have stopped sharing kindness with ourselves and each other. We've stopped being patient with ourselves and each other, and we've stopped seeking out solutions. So we're not being positive when we have confrontation with each other. Now we're just yelling and arguing. And what that has done is it's fragmented community from top to bottom, left to right, all the way through. And until we are able to be better people and then be better people to each other, I think that the thing we're talking about, community, is a hard thing to press.
So now, when did you kind of first realize this and then get into growing plants and having so many plants around you?
So I've been on a bit of a spiritual journey for my entire life. And
That's a lifestyle, not a journey.
Yeah. It really culminated into a process when I was brought to Texas to to be a teacher and administrator at a local private preparatory. And before that, I had been doing independent contracting for several years. When I came here to be a technical director, my oldest friend's mom owned a nursery in Florida, which is where I grew up, and she gifted me 16 plants to bring to Texas. And her nursery was closing, and these plants were incredible. They were some of the most beautiful plants you can ever find. And she is an expert master gardener. So I brought them back to Texas. I got them here. I put them all over my house. I was so happy about it. It's my first house. I brought my mom to see it. And within 2 months, I'd killed more than half of them.
And that's the scary part. That's why I don't have a lot of plants.
And so I can tell you, as a plant enthusiast, I have unfortunately in my care lost thousands of plants, not hundreds, thousands of plants. But that's what makes the difference between the ones you see here and the ones I lost, right? Every one that I lost taught me something. They were a lesson. And so the more we seek out lessons and we let the lessons drive us, the more we have not only peace of mind when we face problems in the future, but the more we have an abundance of information and understanding we can share with others. And so it's in that vein of thinking that some of the most profound things started to happen. And it was because of the garden, like this culmination of thinking and journaling and this spiritual journey I had been on really started to culminate into something that was much larger than myself. And I was just tending to those seeds, tending to those plants. And I had no idea what they were going to grow into and what they would flower. So it's been a magical journey. And really, again, the part that changed it all was just focusing in and doubling down on the learning. Someone invited me to get a bunch of plants from local department stores. They were all the plants that were being thrown away, so they were being sold for next to nothing. I bought hundreds of those plants, and wow. I didn't manage to bring them all back, but the ones I did manage to bring back taught me so much invaluable information and gave me so many experiences that I now am sharing with others.
Well, I'm going to tell you this because I'm a plant novice. Like I said, I want plants. I would love to see my house filled with plants. Awesome. But I know that I'm just one of those people who gets busy. I'm going to forget to water my plants. They're going to die. So everything that you said sounds great. But I think that was a journey that you had to go on to realize that. And so that person who got that one plant and the plants died, and then they tried again and the plant died, and they say, you know what, I'm not good at this. I'm going to stop. What do you say to somebody like that?
I say, have you journaled? Have you stopped to take notes on your experience? Or are you reflecting on this in your mind where the jukebox and the soapbox can tend to cloud and reverberate in a way that is not necessarily healthy? So if you are walking away saying, I am bad at this and I will never be good at this, chances are we're not being positive or finding solutions. I'm not trying to tell everybody to smile about everything. I'm not going to be like, hey, man, listen, you're going to be able to dunk even though you 4'2". That's not what I'm getting at, right? But I have seen smaller statured gentlemen lift themselves 4 or 5 feet. Muggsy Bogues could dunk, right? So I encourage everyone to really think about why they are having that problem, and then maybe try a different plant. There's thousands of plants. And
Right.
so what is it that drew you to that plant? Maybe you need to try the same colored plant, same colored leaf, same shape in a different variety, one that requires less maintenance. But again, we don't think that way if we just immediately cut ourselves off and say, hey, I'm bad at this.
I like,
You know, your experience. Now, are you in Texas now?
Yes, yes, ma'am, I am. I am
Where
in
are you
north of Houston.
located?
North
You're
of
in
Houston.
Houston? Oh, that's where I am.
y'all the neighbors.
Yeah, where are you?
Hi, neighbor.
What suburb are you in?
I'm in Spring Imperial.
Well, okay, we're really close together.
Mhm.
I didn't realize you were in Texas, but I when you described your sojourn of bringing plants, it reminded me of my favorite plant that ended up dying, and it was a ficus. And you know, ficus plants are very temperamental, hard to grow. I had gotten one when it was small, and I lived in a townhouse that had a window that was perfect for growing it. And it grew to be about 8 feet tall. And it was hugging the ceiling.
Oh, shucks.
It was just beautiful. People thought it was artificial. Well, when I was in my townhouse, I was single. And when I got married to Willie, I had to move that plant. And we put it on the bed of a truck. And by the time it got, I went from the Galleria, that's where I lived in the Galleria. By the time I got to North Houston, there wasn't a leaf left.
Oh,
and I never could bring it back.
You know, they are really, really temperamental. How long did you wait between your tries? I say that because I recently learned, right, to even shift them across the room is like,
they lose leaves.
You lose all the leaves. But if you leave it, right, and it's healthy, which yours sounded like it is or was, I think we lost it now. There is a chance it could come back. It might look like an eyesore in the room for a long time, but I say that also for all the people who are out there who give up on them. I have a section in my plant that I call the recovery zone. Or sorry, a section in my garden that I call the recovery zone. And I've had plants out there for 8-9 months at a time that literally look like a dead, empty pot. And on the 10th month, you'll see the tiniest sprouts start to come back from what was a dead twig. And regularly, it's told me that I can't judge what is dead and what's not dead. So I don't know that that's the case with your plant. You know, you may have had obviously you had a deep connection with your plant, so you knew if it was their time. But I tell you, I have been utterly surprised how many times the plants come back, so to say.
Well, nature does find a way. I'm not sure what the way is for a ficus, but I tried for 6 months and nothing. It just wouldn't do anything. So I gave it up. But I grew it for about 5 years.
Understood.
So I had it for a long time to really where it was really thriving. I may try it again. I might, but I know you can't move them even across the room. Once you sit them in their spot, you need to leave them there because they are extremely temperamental.
I've found that a lot of my plants are like that, but they don't show me the signs as quickly as the ficus does.
Yeah, the ficus tells you immediately.
Immediately, but a lot of my other plants, they are very unhappy with moving after they've been in a place for 1 or 2 years. I have to be gentle about the movement. But again, that's why I wrote the book about people, because so many of the parallels between how I treat my plants and what my plants have shown me are similar to my experiences with my family, friends, and stories I hear just in general about people. There are a lot of people who don't move well and are like, man, should have left me where I was. I'm going back now. Find themselves very unhappy and temperamental. because again, if we don't ease ourselves into whatever the move is very gradually, we end up with problems. The same ficus that we're talking about, there's some videos on Instagram. You can see some people like literally one day, or sorry, over the course of maybe like 60 days, moving it from one spot to the other in the room. And that's the only way they've kept their leaves, because they've like every day they're just nudging it a few centimeters.
1 inch per day.
Exactly. So I, again, like you said, nature finds a way. I think more often than not, we're the ones that are impatient and aren't looking for the way to work with nature.
That I'm quite sure that that's true. And I'm sure you address all of this in your book.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's awesome. I might have to look at that book, because I'm telling you, I want to be surrounded by plants like you are right now. I'm
It's
just
beautiful.
scared of killing them all.
It looks tranquil,
Yes, that's what I want. Every house I've ever seen with lots of plants, the big plants like what you had, and plants like what we're seeing there, the house always looks so tranquil. And that's what I want in my home. So I'm eventually I'm going to get these plants. So
yep. And do it incrementally. Don't rush yourself. Go one plant at a time. I didn't get hundreds of plants overnight. Literally I got them as I grew and started learning. I got a lot of plants at one time that were discount, but those didn't have the same weight, and I didn't bring any of those inside. Those were all outside, and those were all teaching me, how does sweet potato work? How does ivy work? How do plants work? But for the people who are doing gardens inside, I encourage everyone to do one plant at a time. And what you find is that after you get your first plant going, it might take several tries, but after you get your first plant going, then your second plant's a lot easier. And then your third plant and your fourth plant, all of a sudden now you've got a space full of plants. And it's just like, but that's a year or two process, not a month process.
Okay. So it sounds like you can't rush it. It's like, raising children, there's different stages, and you can't rush the stages. They are what they are.
You don't, and you can rush them, but you don't want to if you want to have a fully rounded human being. And just like if you want to have a fully rounded plant, I think a lot of us have seen in the nurseries and in the grocery stores what happened when we rush to the stage of flowering. Well, when we get that plant home, that plant doesn't flower for very long. Plant dies on us, and now we think we're bad at what we do. But it was really because that plant never actually got a chance to seat in its stages of growth. It was rushed to its flowering stage so that it could meet the quota of production.
Now, did you use plant food and fertilizer on your plants?
I do. I use a lot of my compost juice, and then I have that as a mix between fertilizers, and so I cycle those different things around.
That sea moss water is good for plants.
It is. And most of what I've crossed out there is highly concentrated. So hang on a second.
Okay.
So this is sea moss fertilizer right here. Wow. And you take your packet, you put it into your gallon, and you fill that up. And then I'll take this out and put in maybe a half a cup into another gallon, and that'll be enough to fertilize. But if you were to pour all of this onto something, it'd be way too much. So you have to dilute it 3, 4, 5 times.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense. Now, do you give a lot of these tips maybe on YouTube or Instagram or anything like that?
So on my TikTok and on my Instagram, I do give plant tips, but the majority of what I'm doing is focused on mental health, physical fitness, spiritual awareness. So the majority of what I do is encourage people to be introspective when considering plant themes. And so a lot of what I'm doing is really trying to get the noggin turning while showing you plants. So yes, there are some tidbits and some tips sprinkled in there, but that is not necessarily the majority of what you'll find on the page.
Okay, well, how can we find you?
You can check out TikTok at Garden Marcus, Instagram garden_Marcus. You can also check out my company website, choiceforward.com, or you can check out gardenmarcus.com. But there are many different ways that you can interact with me and my company. Also, my company has an Instagram at choiceforward.
Okay, well, I am putting your Instagram in the chat right now.
Okay,
I found
thank
it
you.
just like that. And he's official, y'all. He has the blue check mark and everything.
Oh, okay. I have a question about,
Okay.
we are in the final moments, but it was said that you are one of the top, if not the top gardener on TikTok, your most
thank you.
popular gardener. So how did you achieve that?
I think I achieved it by being genuine and by listening to community. When I was approached about doing something on TikTok, I laughed because I thought it was a calendar app. And as we all know, it is not a calendar app, but it pushed me out of my comfort zone. I am not the guy who's been using social media the last 10 years. I'm not the guy who had a smartphone for the last 10 years. I'm that guy who has just been trying to interact with people and teach kids the best of his ability to be better people, the way I was taught. So in that respect, the things I shared on TikTok were not to sell anyone anything. The things I shared on TikTok were to try and encourage people to be kind, patient, and positive with themselves and others. And I think that because I was doing that, at the time that I was doing it, it was really important to people and it was right at the time they needed it.
Makes sense.
Okay. I'm not on TikTok, but I know a lot of people are. The only thing I do, I look at the reels that come across my Facebook, and most of the ones that I look at are cat related because I'm a cat and lover. So they have some really neat
cat videos.
They have some really neat cat videos.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad those cat videos are making you smile. I hope that you'll stop by my page and let those videos make you smile as well. We do a lot to make sure that all of the videos are uplifting, inspirational, and motivational.
Okay, so how do people find you on TikTok?
You go to that search. TikTok is always changing, but you go to the search thing and you type in Garden Marcus and you'll see a picture of me come up. I also have the check mark on TikTok, so you'll know it's me.
Well,
Okay.
one easy way to do it, for those of you who are watching the show, if you want to find him, I've already placed his Instagram link in the chat. If you click on his Instagram link, he has a link tree. And if you click on the link tree, it'll take you to all of his social media channels.
Awesome.
Okay, well, Marcus, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. And hold up your book one last time so people can see. Your cover is How to Grow, Nurture Your Garden, Nurture Yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
And I look forward to, I might even go on TikTok just to search for you. And because I want to get back into plants indoors. So I'm going to check you out on there and see what tips you have and everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ma'am. I think it's so important that we all get back in touch with nature so that we can better our mind, body, and spirit and build stronger communities and healthier environments the old-fashioned and natural way.
Well, thank you very much. This has been food for thought, and we really enjoyed the interview. We thank you for sharing your time with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. You all have a blessed evening.
And you do the same.
You too. Something give me the throat.
Yeah,
but anyway,
tickling your throat.
Yeah, I hate that. But that was a really great interview and different.
Yeah, very different. I enjoyed it though.
Mm-hmm.
He said the same thing. He's watching the show. He said it's a great interview.
Okay. So did people respond to the trivia?
Responded. I'm going to the beginning to make sure I don't miss anyone.
Okay.
All right. Kay Larry. I think she answered,
Which one?
well, her answer was Charlene, a cardiologist for the for
Okay, for
Charlene.
this book, for on rotation.
Yes.
This book, yes, cardiologist is correct. So
Okay.
Kay Larry wins this book. We will send it to you. You'll get it in a few days. So what about the other two books?
Okay, Terrace Marie. Oh, we got some different people this time.
Okay.
Michigan. She said Michigan. So
Yes, that's
yeah,
the answer to Mama in Congress.
yes.
Where is Rashida Tlaib? What state does she represent in Congress? And Michigan was the correct answer. So what is the young lady's name?
That was Terrace Marie or Taurus Marie. I'm sorry if I said it wrong.
Okay. Well, what you need to do is please DM us on the National Black Book Festival your address to send your book. Since you are new to winning the book, we didn't have to ask Kay because she's won books before. But for people who win new for the first time, we need your mailing address so we can mail you. This is an advanced reading copy of the book. So you've won that. And did anyone
yes, and I lost it. Give me 1 second and I will tell you who that winner is. I think it was Stephanie. Yeah, it was Stephanie. Kip has only 3 weeks until his publisher's deadline.
That is correct. So Stephanie Burnham, could it be? So Stephanie.
Sarah said I was right the first time. It's Terrace, not Taurus.
Oh, okay. All right. So please DM us your address. But Stephanie, we have yours. And you're a winner of this book. So we have our next guest coming on, and his name is Les Dotson. And Les, his book has an interesting title because it says meetings at 35,000 feet. What are their meaning? What are the meanings?
I think I would like a meeting at 35,000 feet. I think I know where he's going with this.
Yeah, I wonder too. So, and I have a lot of questions about the whole concept of the meetings at 35,000 feet. Are these meetings he had, or is it meetings is it meeting people, new people that like sit beside you on the plane, or is it an actual planned meeting in advance? So I need to know that.
And it's probably a little bit of both. As I'm reading the synopsis, it looks like it's a little bit of both. And I think this is going to be a timely interview because international travel is coming back. People are actually starting to fly again.
Yes, and I think the COVID testing, some of that has been relaxed too. I'm not sure how much. So we're just waiting on him to come on camera and for his sound to come.
Yeah, he's still connecting his audio.
Connecting. So while he's coming on, I do want to let people know the National Black Book Festival. If you want to be a participating author, the space is 93% full. We don't expect to have space by the middle of June. We expect to be sold out. And I anticipated that just because the demand is high, because people really are looking forward to getting out and meeting the public again. And I've been doing a couple of things here in locally with other authors. So at malls, and we've been having a great reception doing that.
I've been seeing all of your ads about that. I'm like, okay, when do
you? Yeah, we've been in malls. We've done it 3 times so far. Excellent responses. So we're looking forward to we're doing another one in August. So anyway, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV, Les. And now that we have your picture and we just need you to unmute your mic so we can hear you.
Great. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great, Les. Thank you for coming tonight.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I love your movement and thank you so much for the support.
Well, all right. Okay. Thank you for supporting Black Authors Matter TV.
You got it.
Okay. Well, show us the cover of your book. I want to see what imagery you use. Do you have your book with you?
It's across the room. Can you hold on for 1 second? I get it.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Please, we want to see, because I want to see what you did with your with your imagery based on your title, what kind of imagery you use to
Mhm.
convey your message?
Put my ears back on.
Okay.
Right, can you see that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So
There you go.
now, are you a pilot? Are you just love to travel? Or do you have to travel for work?
I'm
Uh,
both. I'm both. I've been traveling since 1989. And I got my chance to first go to Japan because I was working for Epson at the time in a Japanese company.
Okay.
And I just got the bug. And
Which
so
part of
in the main Tokyo itself, the main Akihabara, Shinjuku area.
Yeah.
So it was nice. It was lovely. And so I just got the bug. And from there, I just didn't stop, even in personal or in work. So it was nice.
So how many countries have you been to? Have you counted? How many?
48 different countries.
Wow, that's amazing.
Oh, have you been to all the continents?
I've been to all the continents except for Australia.
So you've been to Antarctica?
Not on
Some
Antarctica.
people go.
We want to count it, all right, but yeah, I still haven't gone to Australia.
Okay, I've heard it.
Yeah.
I've heard it's beautiful there.
Yeah. Now we were mentioning a little earlier while we were waiting for you to connect, and we were saying that this book is actually pretty timely because people are starting to get out and travel again. International travel is coming
That's right.
back. With my job, I work a lot with international travel, and people are really getting out there trying to get global entry and all these other things because they want to start seeing the world again. I think people are starting to learn to live despite COVID rather than learn to live with it.
That's right. You're absolutely right. And that was the reason of writing the book and releasing it. My ghostwriter was like, "Are you sure you want to release it at that time?" And I was like, "Yeah, because when we come out of it, then it'll be already out, and then all I have to do is just republish it, do the PR on it, and then it'll flow." And so I'm so glad that I did it because in the book it talks about a lot of the things that we don't do, which is human touch and how to interact with people. So it kind of like read the future all by itself of what people are going to do in this book. Yeah, it's great.
I like that. Let's talk about these meetings at 35,000 feet.
That's right. Okay. So the premise of the book, once again, as anybody knows me, comes from dreams. I'm an inventor, designer, and I have these dreams. And 99% of the time when I have the dream, if I write it down, I can make it come true. Okay. And so this book was the same. And what I noticed was a pattern. Every time I got into a flight, if I was conscious about the flight and getting in the flight, I would meet someone. And either me meeting them was a benefit for them or a benefit for me, or an experience that a group of people, and I noticed the pattern. And the last time I noticed the pattern was I was coming from New York to Chicago to LA. And this guy named JW, I'll keep his name JW, he had a bracelet on his hand. He says, "God is big enough." From the time that the flight took off to the time that we landed, we had a conversation about the connectivity of human spirit and how God plays in each other's lives. And it was two men that don't even know each other. And he was white, older gentleman. He ran all of Amazon, all the third-party logistics. He ran the whole thing. And we prayed in the plane. And that was when it hit me that I need to write this book of all these stories that I had and all these connections. And so for the next year, I took 25 flights and I did 25 stories. For each flight that I took, I wrote a chapter. So I timed myself. I already knew the topic. And as soon as the plane took off, I was like, typing away. And boom, by the time I landed, the chapter was written. So that's how the book was inspired. That's what those stories are. And when you read them, a lot of people go, "Oh yeah, I had the same thing happen to me," right? They're like, "Oh yeah, Or people start telling their own stories
Yes.
about what happened to them, crying in the plane, spilling your guts to people you don't even know, business partnerships, marriages, all kind of things happen in the plane. Now, why? I think when you are up that high and not in the negative ground energy, you're more susceptible to being open. At the same time, you're sitting next to somebody that you cannot escape from. But you would think that you would be like, get away from me. I don't want, no, don't, no. But no, people open up and they just start telling, you hear them, you be on the plane, it's like, I wish these people shut the hell up. I'm trying to get to sleep, right? Right?
Yeah.
And they don't even know each other. They just be talking, telling stories. Now, it could be because I ain't gonna never see this person anywhere, so I can tell all my dirt.
It could be.
Right? It could be, right? But for me, I saw the pattern and I was excited to start to fly because I knew something, was going on. And one time I manifested a story. And if you don't mind, I'll tell you really quick. It was a couple coming from Miami. I was going from Miami to LA. Red eye. I got upgraded. Brother was sitting next to me and they were just chatting it up, having a good time. Oh, baby, thank you so much for taking me on Miami. Oh, baby, I got you, everything. And he was like a hip hop brother. And she had this beautiful this black girl, she had a beautiful red hair all the way down with dreads. It was beautiful. And they're just talking, having a good time. So the meal happened. The lights went out. Everybody went to sleep. And about 2 hours in, I hear this boom on the back of my seat. Me and the brother woke up. They are in the middle fist fighting with each other in the middle of the flight in first class.
Oh
just going off on each other. And the stewardess comes over. She goes, stop it. You can't be fighting the plane. You're breaking regulation, FAA, blah. And they weren't even listening to her. So we'll come to find out, when she was sleeping and he was still maybe awake, he went through her phone and saw all the text messages of her talking to all these guys while they were in Miami. He lost it. He just lost it. And so she was fighting back at him. She's like, why are you in my phone? You shouldn't be in my, so it was just like this battle. And so the pilot comes out, he goes, you need to stop it now. And he goes, or I'm gonna.
Okay.
So they have air marshals still on the plane, you guys.
Yes.
So he says, look, I'm gonna call the air marshals right now, and you guys are gonna be handcuffed. And so they decided to stop, and they moved him to one seat in the back, and then she stayed in that one. But believe me, when that flight landed, those police were coming in and arrested both of them.
Of course.
Yeah. So when I landed, I wrote the story because I couldn't go back to sleep. And my my ghostwriter, she goes, oh, so now you're manifesting stories in the flight, huh? But it was a beautiful story about, privacy. It's a beautiful story about respect for our brothers and sisters. It's a beautiful story that we need to conduct ourselves at the best possible, because the consequences on it is going to be, bad for us. So it was interesting. It was an interesting story.
So what period of time did these 25 stories occur? Over what period of time?
Between 2018 to 2019. Yeah, it was like a mix. And then when COVID hit, that was when I was like, okay, let's just work on the editing and everything. And I did all the editing and everything during COVID.
Okay. Well, I was wondering if some of it was happening during COVID, and there have been several reports about fights that have broken out. I haven't heard any lately. Seems like things have calmed down since the mask.
Well, American Airlines stopped selling alcohol because there were so many fights breaking out on their planes.
That's right.
But a lot of people get drunk before they get on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So the
bars are selling a lot of liquor.
So that story is Crazy Patricia.
Yeah.
You read Crazy Patricia, OMG. She was totally drunk with this cowboy guy on a red eye from LA to Connecticut. And she was obliterated with drinks. And then she had more drinks when she got on. And she was in full voice the entire flight, no matter how much they told her to be quiet, to shut up, she didn't care. She didn't care. And she just was in full voice the whole time.
Wow.
I never saw anybody do that before on a flight.
So it sounds like you have funny stories, poignant stories, maybe even some sad stories, some serious stories.
Yes. The serious story was where the flight was going to crash. It's the first chapter. It's called Smoky, New Mexico. And I think I'm going to make a Netflix series out of it. Wow. So the issue is that we were flying and there was something wrong with the plane. And nobody knew what was wrong with the plane. You can tell in the stewardess's eyes, the flight attendant's eyes, that you couldn't tell. They knew what was going on. And there was a smell. It was a burning smell, but no smoke, just burning smell. And everybody's in the plane looking around like, what is that, right? Pilot comes on the flight. He goes, well, I think the oxygen sensors blew, and you're going to smell this smell for about 20 minutes, and I think it's going to dissipate and go away. And he was right. About 20 minutes, the smell went away. Everybody went back to doing their thing. About another 30 minutes later, the smell came back stronger. Now everybody was like, okay, what the hell's going on, right?
Right.
So we told the guys on the other side of the plane, look out the window and see if the wings are on fire. So they're looking out the window. They were like, what about your side? And I told the guy sitting next to me, look outside. He looked at it, goes, no, man, the wings are fine. All of a sudden, the freaking plane started rumbling, just starts rumbling. Everybody started screaming, and then we went into a dive, just straight dive down. People were losing their mind. And back then, I'm dating myself, but they had the phones in the back of the planes, the back of the chairs.
Right.
I grabbed the phone. I had speed dial. I called my mom and I said, Mom, the plane's going down. The plane's going. She goes, what? I said, the plane's going down. Tell Alicia I love her, my daughter. Tell her I love her. And my mom is screaming. And I said, I gotta go. The plane's going down. And then, boom, he leveled off at 10,000 feet.
Oh my goodness.
And the reason why he had to do that is when the oxygen sensors blow, you can't breathe out of the face mask. So he had to bring the plane down to the right level.
To a breathable level.
Yes. Right. And then we had to do emergency landing. So we did emergency landing. We hit the ground so hard, you have no idea. When a plane hits the ground hard, you have no idea. That is crazy.
How does something like that affect your life? Because I'm sure that would have changed my life forever.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if I would have flown again.
Okay.
It would have been a while.
You guys are amazing, because now this is where the meetings start. All right. Meetings at 35 feet. What are the meetings? So here's where the meetings start and the meetings. We get the plane settled down. They pop the doors. The emergency people come off. Everybody gets off, and we're in a holding area for about 2 hours. There's 248 souls that got saved on that flight that day. You should have heard all the meetings. I'm not going to work out hard anymore. I'm not going to take life for granted. I'm going to spend more time with my kids. I'm not going to, some people are like, I'm never going to fly again. I mean, all these stories affected everybody that day, including myself.
I'm sure.
I got on the phone with my mom. She goes, didn't I tell you you need to spend more time with the family and you need to stop flying? Right? So it affected everybody that day. And I think for some reason, the universe grabbed that amount of people to wake them up. To wake them up. I mean, literally, we woke up out of the everything's going to be okay zone, right? Nobody, when the plane was going down, was like, I got to check my mortgage. Got to make that car payment. Oh, I got to catch that meeting. Let me text them and tell them. No. Everybody was praying, doing their thing, no matter what religion they were, you heard it. So it's unfortunate that we wake up in tragedy, right? When things are about to happen to us, that's when we get all, understanding what life is really about. So that's the reason why I want to do Smoky, New Mexico in a little short, because it really, really wakes people up to what the true fact is of life.
I can see why you wanted that to be the first story.
Yes.
Because now you kind of appreciate things as you're going along. And
That's right.
something that you mentioned a little earlier that I thought was very poignant is that when you meet people, that it was either a benefit to them or it was a benefit for you. And I think often in this day and age, we often go into meeting people wondering what's in it for me. And we
That's right.
forget that sometimes we could actually be the blessing to the other person.
That's
So
right.
I'm glad you had mentioned that.
You're absolutely right. I'll go really quick, but there's 4 reasons why people come into your life. One is to bump you and to move you from a certain circumstances or from them the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever stood on a sidewalk and you're just minding your own business? Somebody gets your attention and boom, a bus comes right by where you're about to walk off. Has this happened to you?
Mm-hmm.
Or a close call, but
Nothing
something
like
grabbed
that. Other things, but not that particular.
Yeah, but
Right.
some type of close call.
Mm-hmm.
some
Yeah.
kind of close call. Something always comes and gets your attention, so you don't do it. You're like, oh my God, if I had took that step, right now, people call it angels,
Yes.
that are here, right,
Yes.
to try to prevent you from being harmed, because your soul has a purpose. Okay.
Mhm.
The second one is you have these short relationships with people in a plane or at work or something like this, and you learn something. If you're conversation with them, you learn something from them, or they learn something from you, and they go, "Oh, thank you so much for that information," or "Thanks for that relationship. Okay, I'm leaving. I'm going to another place." But you like, I really like that person, and they are saying, I really like them. I learned a little bit from them, right? The
Mhm.
third one is your family or your loved ones that you're in a relationship with, and they last pretty long, or sometimes they don't. Some family members come in and out, and some people divorce or break up or something like this. And the last one is soulmates, and that doesn't mean people that you're married to. A soulmate also be somebody that you've known since you were in kindergarten or the first grade, and you guys have had this life journey together of experience all the way through your whole life. Those are soulmates. And they were brought into your life to be able to have experience and be able to share these moments together all the way through.
Yes.
So that's it. Yeah. So the next time you meet somebody, go, okay, I wonder which one he is. Okay, I wonder which one that they fit in. I wonder.
So where can we find your book?
On Amazon. It's on Amazon right now. Yeah. So I've just been waiting for other publication areas to be able to distribute it. Now that things are opening, so now it's the time to be able to distribute it to big bookstores and community bookstores, airport stores, stuff like that.
I have a question. When you were talking, I could envision your airplane storyline in like a series.
Yes. So I'm going to film it. I'm also award-winning filmmaker. I just made a film called Power of Intimate Touch, and it won the best film for Black Feedback Film Festival for 2022. So just about a month ago, it won.
Wow.
And so,
Well,
yes.
congratulations.
Thank you. So yeah, so you're absolutely right. This Smoky, New Mexico will be a series, and it will start out with this premise of life is too short, right? And we all need to recognize it. But from there, it allows other people to tell their stories. Every week or every 2 weeks, there will be another story of someone, which is a real life story. And you use actors to act it out.
Mhm.
And then at the end of the story, the true people that had that experience, they get about 10 minutes to tell their little side of it. So, and then you go to the next story.
Well, I can see it would be something relevant because being on an airplane, as you mentioned, is different from being on the ground.
That's right.
It's just, I don't fly a lot. I fly to get to where I want to go. But I haven't been anywhere outside. I haven't been across an ocean yet on a plane.
Okay.
So
You gotta go.
yeah, I've been on cruises. I've been on that ocean. I love cruising. But I haven't flown across an ocean yet. But I'm not opposed to it. I just haven't done it.
I don't know. I feel like I was born on a plane, being the daughter of Air Force non-commissioned officers and being in the Army myself for 23 years. I was always on a plane. So that's something that I'm used to. So I guess that's why I'm kind of fascinated with your book and the stories, because sometimes we don't appreciate that. We get on the plane, we put our earbuds in, or we close our eyes and go to sleep. And I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of
That's
going.
all right.
But there have been times where I have struck up a conversation with someone and it wound up being very interesting. We may have never seen each other again, but just to have that conversation is sometimes that can be the treat.
Yes, absolutely. And so now the next time you get on the plane and you're now conscious about it, just let the subconscious happen all by itself. Sometimes if you want to go to sleep, go to sleep. Put your earbuds in and go to sleep because you need to rest. Totally got it. But then sometimes you're going to sit next to somebody and you're going to say, oh, I'm in the position now to give this person information that they need. Right. And you were like, now I understand why I sat next to this. This person needed to hear my advice. This person needed to hear my information that I gave to you, and then vice versa.
Now, how do you get past, or how do you muster up the bravery to talk to someone you don't know? Because there's some people who are very social. They'll talk to anybody. And then there's people like, well, I would like to talk to this person, but they don't look like they're too open to me talking to them. And I don't want them to tell me to shut up, or I don't want them to look at me like I wish they would shut up. So how do you get that awkward stage?
I'm going to say it again. I think there's something in the upper realms of the universe that just allows that connection to happen naturally. I don't even think you need to force it. I think it will happen all by itself without you having to do anything. I think when you look over to somebody and they look at you, there's a connectivity. We're all part of the same energy. And I think it will just spark through the hello, and then it'll just roll naturally all by itself without you even having to force it.
Okay, well, in our final 1 minute, I do want to ask you, what's your favorite seat on the plane? Do you like the window, the aisle? Nobody likes the middle seat. But
I've flown 3.7 million miles. So with American Airlines. So it's definitely the aisle. I always like to try to get upgraded. They don't know what to do with me. They're like, okay, because I get lifetime upgrades because of the miles. Okay. But I need to have an aisle. I need to have an aisle.
Okay. Well, I like the window.
I don't want to get up every time somebody has to use the bathroom.
Well, see, I like the window because I like to look out. Especially if it's clear, especially I like to look at the ground. I like to be able to see the ground. Even now when it's cloudy, you can't see anything. But I like being able to see the ground.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I have a height problem, but not on airplanes. I guess it's too high. It's too high for my height problem to kick in.
Right. And also when you're in the plane, they figured out how to normalize the cockpit, so you feel like you're on the ground, so you don't get that weird claustrophobic feeling. They got it down. They got it down.
Right.
Well, thank you for being a part of Black Authors Matter TV tonight. We truly enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, it was different. It was your even though we've interviewed over 300 people on the show, there are people's individual experiences are unique. I mean, we haven't had anybody with this type of story so far.
Beautiful.
So it's very different.
There you go. So you see the connectivity between us is flowing. The book is moving, even though we're landed on the ground. But believe me, the next time you get in the flight, you're gonna remember this book. You're like,
I definitely will. I'll be flying next month. So
all right, I want to hear your story.
all right. I hope it's nothing. I hope it's just something calm, no turbulence, and nothing dramatic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
Black Authors Matter TV, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all the things that you do. Continue to bless our people. Let us be the best that we possibly can and keep spreading the word, okay?
Thank
All
you
right.
so
Well,
much.
thank
That
you
was
for those
beautiful.
kind words. We
All
appreciate you
right.
being on the show, and much success with your book and your film.
Yes, thank you so much. Ashe, my beautiful queens, okay?
Okay.
Have a great
Okay.
night.
Bye-bye.
All right. Okay.
Bye-bye.
That was an interesting conversation.
Fun.
Okay, so our next guest is, and I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. I think it's Kreceda, but she'll correct me if I'm wrong. Tyler, and she is the acquisitions editor for Black Odyssey Media. That's an imprint of Kensington, and is spearheaded by Entice, who's been on the show several times, and also will be doing a panel at the National Black Book Festival. Oh, a seminar. She'll be doing a seminar about book to film. And then she'll also be on the publishers panel that we're going to be having. I think we have 4 publishers that are going to be talking about what they're looking for in acquisitions and just how their operation goes. So, Kreceda, remind me or correct me if I mispronounce your name, but welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hi, how are you? Thank
So
you
how do
so
you pronounce your name? Did I do it correctly?
Kreceda perfectly.
Kreceda, I got it right.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for being a guest, and Entice spoke very highly of you as her acquisitions editor, and that you're on the ground floor of the efforts that they're with the new imprint. And it's very exciting to be on the ground floor of something so momentous. So tell us about Black Odyssey Media and what the goals are for the imprint.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I truly have some big shoes to fill. Said it Tice today. She's a wonderful mentor and, a powerful woman leader in this industry. So I was first give her props on that and just say that I was ecstatic to be a part of this movement, this momentous movement that we have with Black Odyssey Media. So for, to those who are new to this information, Black Odyssey Media is an independently woman-owned publishing company that is truly committed to spotlighting minority storytellers. We are right now focusing on slating about 10 titles a year, and it includes commercial and multi-genre fiction. And we use those, titles that entwine universal themes featuring diverse perspectives and characters from all walks of life.
Okay, so you're going to be doing 10 books a year to start out.
Yes.
Okay, now, what genres are you primarily looking for?
The genres that right now that we're looking for are contemporary romance, women's crime fiction, psychological and suspense thrillers. We also are in the genres for own voices and those other niche genres like multicultural fiction, 90s retro romance, coming of age stories, speculative fiction.
Pretty wide gamut.
Yeah, pretty wide. It's a pretty broad scope, and it's a good niche. We're tapping into those genres that we would love to see more minority storytellers thrive in mainstream.
Okay, that's good. Now, are you looking? I guess you're looking for new authors as well as maybe more established authors.
Yes, new authors, established authors, we do accept them both agent and non-agent as well. So, we want the right story, and we also want for them to feel as though Black Odyssey is more than just a publisher, but it's a publishing home. So we definitely are, accepting submissions and filling out these unique stories, because we have so many authors with these tales that are so unique and that just do not get the highlight that they deserve. And those are the stories that we really want to bring forth.
Nice.
So when are you, do you all know when your first book will be released?
Yes, the official launch is June 2023.
Okay, so
you've got
that's
1
right
year.
around the corner in literary terms.
Right, it
Yes.
is.
Literally
It
around
is.
the corner for literary terms.
So have you all selected the 10 books that are going to be released will 10 books be released in 2023, or because you're releasing in the middle of the year, is going to be roughly half that?
We do have a lineup. We do have our 10 book lineup. We are still openly accepting submissions. We were happy and just excited that so many people were excited to give Black Odyssey a chance, to be a part of this journey with us. But we do have 10 titles, but we still are openly accepting submissions.
I think that's a testament. There are so many authors out there who say, just publish your own books. You can keep a percentage. I just want to publish my own, but there are still people out there who want a publisher. They want somebody to kind of help them to navigate this whole industry, because trying to do it yourself, that you're wearing so many different hats, and sometimes it's good for somebody else to kind of take some of that burden off of you. And it doesn't mean that you can just sit back and relax, because now you have a publisher, you don't have to do anything.
Right. And I think, that is you spoke on something that is truly beneficial. There's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. And when you're new, you don't know the difference between what's right, what's wrong, maybe what's semi-true and, semi not true. But with the publisher, you have someone who can wear those hats, as you say, for you and guide you along the process and let you know, step by step the process, so that you can not only grow as an author, but you can grow in the business of the literary world. And that is so direly important, because we have so many people who are phenomenal authors, these great writers, but they don't understand the business of the literary world. And that is the portion that a publisher can assist you with.
Right. And unfortunately, they think they know it, because there's a lot of misinformation that's being posted in a very, very expert way. On social media,
Yes.
And sometimes I just look and I shake my head, and you try to give the right information, but they dig their heels in, and they'll give you a dissertation as to why they're right. So sometimes you have to let people learn the hard way.
Yeah, and unfortunately it is, that's the truth. Social media sometimes becomes law with people. And you just kind of have to let them wade the waters. But that is what, we're here for, to help them navigate those waters. So
Right.
Right. And taking advantage of, which is something that's so prevalent, unfortunately prevalent too.
So how did, do you know the backstory on how this whole thing came about? How Black Odyssey was birthed via Kensington?
Yes.
What you can tell. I know some things are for the public and some things are not for the public. So.
Yes. Well, many people know Entice was a literary agent, at first, and she helped so many authors birth their careers as an agent. And what she wanted to do was just take that to the next level. And that is what she did. She came up with her business model of what she wanted to do, envision for Black Odyssey. And she presents it with Kensington, and as they can say, the rest is history.
Okay.
Yeah, that takes a lot of bravery too, to be able to put a presentation like that together and then present it to the powers that be. So it could be a lot on her to do something like that.
Absolutely, absolutely, it is. And just going through the process of doing that, it takes a lot of courage, a lot of bravery, a lot of time and research and effort, and and also a lot of experience. And that is one thing that I can truly say for her. Anything that she does, she takes it, she attacks it, she learns, she gains the experience and the knowledge she needs to move to the next level. And when you have someone like that and they've proven with their success, people see that and they're, more apt to provide you with those open door opportunities. And so that is exactly, what has happened with Black Odyssey Media.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Tice is always thinking outside the box.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that. I love that about her. She does not hesitate to do something somebody else hasn't done before. She will take something on, and that's what people who are leaders do. They do things other people haven't done before. So it's easy to follow. Coming up with something different and new is normally it's inspiration. It comes from just thinking outside the box, and that's what Entice does. Now, how did you get on board with Black Odyssey Media, and what's your background?
So as for me, I am also an author. I actually have worked with Entice in several realms. I also work with her on Boss Magnet Media. We have just become, as she calls us, business besties. I she calls me her right hand, and I am there, with her in the trenches a lot of times, on the business side. And so when she approached me with this opportunity, to be a part of Black Odyssey as an acquisitions editor, it was, I learned a lot through her, and we have really held each other's hands through this process, because all leaders need someone to encourage them to, and say, come on, we can do this, we got this, and that's what we have really done. And so I have been truly blessed through this process, and I have been able to take on this responsibility to really assist in the best way that I can as we go along on this journey. So it has been a phenomenal time, filtering through and just pulling these great authors, finding these awesome stories, and being able to present them with deals and just change their lives. I love that portion of it. So it has been just a wonderful experience for me.
Well, I'll tell you, listening to this, is going to be a lot of people who are going to be sending you manuscripts. Are there some nuggets of thought that you would like to share, so people will know how to make sure that their manuscript is in the best shape possible before submitting it to you?
Absolutely. I tell everyone, the submission guidelines, they're pretty straightforward, but to have your manuscript actually formatted properly, there are instructions when you submit it. It tells you, make sure that it's double spaced, 12-point font. But aside from those technical things, try to make sure that you're also presenting not your rough draft, your first draft, someone who has actually proofread. If you have time to go out and get an edit to, of your book, do that. It's very important, because when you want to step into this level of publishing, it must be something that is going to be dynamic. So I warn, authors, and that's just not even with Black Odyssey, that's across the board. You always want to present your absolute best.
Yes.
First.
Yes.
So that's with any publisher, your absolute best first. So please, 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 whatever you do, don't just say I wrote this and just say submit it, and you haven't read the guidelines on the format that is supposed to be received, or you send the entire book when they only ask for the first 3 chapters.
But you're not going to appreciate the meat of the story if I only send you 3 chapters.
Yeah,
And that's because if the first three chapters don't grab the reader, they're not going to keep reading. And so those three, that tells the story right there. Because I'm one of those readers. If it doesn't grab me early on,
you just don't understand my art, Gwen.
you need to it needs to flow. It needs to keep me turning pages. It needs to be interesting.
When you have to, rule of thumb in the industry, chapters 1 through 5, they have to snatch the reader. Because if by chapter 5 you haven't, it's done. They're not gonna. So
out of there.
One of the tips that a lot of established writers would tell you is do not start off slow. Some people think you should start off slow and then build up, but if it starts off too slow, you're going to lose your reader. So sometimes just start right in the action. Get people interested from the very beginning.
Yes. And it takes a truly special writer who can really start off slow and keep in there. That's a talent. I know some people who can do that, but for most people, they really want you to grab their attention and just hold it there, and that's what is going to, be the thing that stands out most of the times to acquisitions editors.
So you only want the first 3 chapters, not the entire manuscript. For those out there who are considering submitting to Black Odyssey Media. And it's a good idea to submit to a company that's on the rise, instead of sometimes when people are in publishing and they've been there a long time, they kind of get stuck in patterns and they're not as open to something different.
Right.
They want to stick with what they think is going to succeed.
Everybody wants to join you at the top, and they don't want to take the journey with you to the top. And if you talk to a lot of authors who are out there and well-established and well-known, often they met their publishers when the publisher was still trying to build up. Right. So sometimes you have to just trust, really have a conversation with that person, see where they're going. Or with that business and see where they're going. Sometimes it's best to go ahead and take that journey with them, and then you guys go ahead and make it at the top. But now, if you want somebody to take that journey with you, then you've got to come trustworthy. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely, you have to be, and that's a level of trust. And I think the amazing thing about Black Odyssey, especially with Entice, she's been at all of these different levels. She's an author, she's been an agent, she's a publisher. So she has an understanding all the way around, in the literary industry, but she also can relate to you as an author. So that's a great standing point, for her, because you can trust that those things that you feel on the business end, that some people are just looking at it, from a business mindset. She also has the ability to wear that author hat and look at things from your viewpoint, and then fuse that sometimes to meet in the middle or just give you a better understanding of the business and of the process. So I love that too. And that I think is something that is hugely different sometimes for other bigger companies, where it's more business and bottom line, and here you get to insert business, bottom line, and creativity.
Okay.
I have a question about are you, for the first 10 people, the first 10 books that you're releasing, for the authors that you sign, did you sign 1 book deal or 2 book deals?
It depends. There are some 1 book deals, there are some 2 book deals. If they had the material that was already there, and they were upfront to say, this is, a series. We take a look at it, and we view if we want to take, on the 2 books at this time. But there are, different I guess, stagger steps with amongst the different authors. So we do have some experienced authors who said, hey, I have this, and we took it and looked at it in totality. And then you have your newer authors. We say we love it, but let's just, try this book out first, and then we'll go from there. But the opportunity to have more than a one book deal is absolutely there for our authors.
Okay. And of the 10 books that you're releasing, can you name any of the authors that have signed with you all whose names we might know, or is that all a secret until next year?
I can release, now what I can release are the names. I can tell you the names. And I'll give you a tip, at least tell you the genre that it's going to, flow into. So one of our authors, who is a seasoned author who is signed with Black Odyssey, is Eric S. Gray. He will be bringing some speculative fiction to the game with us that is really super dope. And for those who don't quite understand what that is, that's those stories that encompass like supernatural, futuristic stories. So he's going to be bringing those type of stories to us. We also have Danielle Marcus. Many of you, you know her work. She also wrote Plug Love, which was a very popular movie on Amazon Prime. And so she will be bringing her women's crime fiction and some contemporary romance to Black Odyssey as well. And we have J.L. Campbell, who's going to be bringing us this dynamic psychological thriller that I can guys to read. And we also have some newcomers. We have Eddie Clark with DeAndrea Whitfield. That is going to be along the lines of narrative nonfiction with a mashup of urban fiction. And that is basically a true story that is written fictitiously, and it is a dynamic story. I can't wait for you guys to actually read it. We have some great authors. We have, many more. L.R. Jackson, who I call her the queen of the unorthodox romance. She is amazing. She will be bringing us a phenomenal romantic suspense story that is truly something different that I have not seen out here in the industry, and I just cannot wait. I wish I could talk more, but our authors.
No, you're giving good information now.
Yes, they're so.
This is great information. Now I like that you're bringing in some names that we've seen before. They may have taken a little break, but these names are still very, very, very relevant in African American fiction. So I'm really glad to see some of these people coming back, like Eric S. Gray. I'm can't wait to see what he's going to come out with you.
Yes. Awesome. Eric is such a dynamic writer. He is, when Gwen says out the box, that is truly what he is, out of the box. And this work is something that is phenomenal. It's mind blowing. I'm just excited. He's excited. I cannot wait either.
Wonderful. Now, so 2023 is basically sewn up. So, what can somebody do right now to get ready for 2024?
They can submit. For 2024, absolutely. We are, we're building that roster. That's with publishing, you constantly have to submit and be ready to, to produce your work. So definitely submit. You can go through blackodyssey.net or email info@blackodyssey.net. But if you go to the website, the guidelines are there. We actually do a little bit better when we give them 6 chapters to submit. So we give them 6 chapters.
Okay.
So,
now, if you can't grab these people in 6 chapters, you might have to go back to the drawing board now.
Go back to the drawing board.
6 chapters is a lot. If especially if you write lengthy, you can 6 chapters can reveal a lot. So
you can.
Right.
You can.
Okay, now we only have about 5-6 minutes left in this interview, right. But I have to ask you, what are those letters on your t-shirt?
These letters on my t-shirt, this is for Honor Society that I'm in from college. It's the National Honor Societies of Leadership and Success.
I thought those looked familiar because my daughter is also in that
My
fraternity.
daughter was in that too.
Yeah.
So,
Those letters look familiar. I better ask her.
and she has that T-shirt. My daughter has that T-shirt.
Yes, Sigma Alpha Pi. I'm in it too. So, and my daughter is as well.
Yeah, I think that was the first organization she joined with in college.
Yes, it is.
I think it was for my daughter too. I have another question about submissions. Are you all accepting books that are already self-published that the author may want to be with a larger publisher that gives them more exposure?
Now we have done that, and we will have, those are the ones that we really take time with to see the story, to gauge it before we agree to like rebrand it, republish it and everything. But we will take a look at it. We're not opposed to not doing that. We have done that, so it just really depends on the work, and the story, has to really grab us. But we will definitely do that. I do understand that happens. Sometimes you rather go to a publishing home. So we are open to that, and we have been, and those stories have been dynamic as well.
Now, what do you all have a special something, or it could be a secret, but when you launch next year in June, do you have something special planned, or are you all still planning that? How are you going to like take the world by storm? What are you going to be doing?
We are still planning. We are actually putting that together now. What we have done with our authors, we did do their welcome graphic for the company, and they have been sharing it on social media because they have been clamoring, and we have
good
to share that with them. But we are.
That's what you do. I mean, get it out there, get people excited about it. So when the book drops, boom, boom, boom. They're buying those books now.
Yes, we are. We are planning huge announcements with the launches. We will definitely be continuing to put things through, the publisher, the wire, PR wire, Publishers Weekly. We'll be announcing their books and when their releases will be coming. So we have a grand scale, that is planning, and we're actively looking to build and do as much as we can for the authors, because we want them to be successful, with their careers. And I love the fact that all of our authors are so passionate and they are hungry for this. So, it fuels us, and they fuel us, and we fuel them. And I just cannot wait, because I know that it is going to be an amazing journey for everyone.
Okay. Well, let people know how they can reach Black Odyssey Media to, if they want to submit or just learn about what is going to be happening with the company.
Sure. Well, you can contact us at www.blackodyssey.net. We are online, where you can find out the history of the company. Also, that is where you will find the submissions guideline, our contact us field, where you can fill it in. And if you are looking to submit, all of the submission guidelines are there, and the submissions email is submissions@blackodyssey.net. So please go to the website, learn. I encourage authors who are interested to learn more, about who's with the company, about the company. Read the website, as we want you, we want authors to be excited, but sometimes we get overly excited and we just jump. But I want you to really read and understand who we are and get to know us, to make sure that, this is somewhere where you really want to be. And if you are, we really want to have you.
All right.
Okay.
I love it. Thank you for what you're doing. Congratulations on what I know is going to be a successful launch, because you already have put all of the pieces into place. So right now it's just a matter of the authors doing their piece of it when it's their time. And I already know that they're going to do that, because they've already started doing it. So, this is going to be huge. So those of you out there who dream of having a traditional publisher and you really want to get out there, look no further than this lady on the screen right now.
Yes,
Right, go to Black Odyssey, it's blackodyssey.net, correct?
yes,
Yeah,
blackodyssey.net.
we put your link to the website as well as Instagram in the chat.
Yes, yes, and please follow us on social media. We are at I Am Black Odyssey on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV. Tell Entice I said hello. I saw that she was tuning in, but just tell her I said hello. I'll see her in October, and thank her for supporting the show and also for supporting the National Black Book Festival.
Absolutely, I will. And thank you, ladies, so much for having me and supporting us.
Oh, thank you. You have a great night.
Thank you. You do as well. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, good night. All right, so for those of you all who are interested in starting your career with a established publisher, there's a new one that you can hook up with. So take advantage of these opportunities and the exposure and things you're learning about on this show. Well, we have our final guest and Sonya Curry. Some of you all, those of you all who are basketball fans like me that watch the games, you have seen her in the stands supporting her sons, and right now she is, I'm sure, excited about the finals. I had told the audience I am a Golden State Warriors fan, have been for at least 10 years, and so I watch the games and very excited about the playoffs. So welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. Miss Corey.
Hello, how are you guys doing?
Wonderful, wonderful. How are you tonight?
I am absolutely wonderful. Just landed in Boston and got to the hotel and getting settled in, ready to handle these games these next few days.
I have a funny question to ask. You said you just landed in Boston, so I just finished watching Winning Time, the Lakers movie. And they talked about how when they flew into Boston and how the stadium was haunted. Have you heard any of those stories, and were you scared to go in there?
No, I was. I hardly hear anything really, so it's like that's probably a good thing, because if I did, I'm not trying to do that. No.
But that was the funniest part of the series when they were talking about how haunted it was there. I'm like, okay, do people really believe that?
Yeah. And most of the time I'm in there when there are games and lots of people, so we probably wouldn't experience that anyway, but no, I'm not trying to go there. No.
Right. Now you have a new memoir that just came out last month.
I do, yes.
And do you have a copy of it with you?
I do. Yes.
Okay. So it's called Fierce Love, a memoir of family, faith, and purpose.
Beautiful cover.
It is.
Thank you.
And what motivated you to write your memoir? What made you say that now's the time to get your story out there?
Well, I mean, in my book, I talk about the fact of my daughter had graduated from college and kind of what's the next thing, empty nesting, and just thinking about retiring from my school and just checking in with God, like what's next, like what's my next chapter of my life. And so went on a weekend retreat, and at the end of that weekend retreat, God had just laid on my heart that it was time to write this book that it kind of been stirring in my spirit for years. When Stephen was in the league, maybe 2 to 3 years, it started stirring in my spirit just to do a book just about how the voice of God has directed me in my parenting with my children. And at that point, really just thinking it was going to be through how each one of them decided on the colleges that they were going to go to, because his hand was all in that.
Yeah.
And so thought about that. And then in 2019, even before, the pandemic and everything, it was, people just kept saying, you need to write a book. And I was like, wow. I mean, I'm just like any other parent. I mean, there's no instructional book on how to make an NBA player or whatever. You just raise your
Right.
children. You just do the best that you can do every day. And so in 2019, someone approached me and was like, it's time to write your book. And I was like, okay. And there was like, I'm going to introduce you to an agent, a book agent. That happened quickly. Next thing I know, I've met a ghostwriter who helped me with a lot of this, and that happened. And then I had lots of offers on really wanting to publish it, but Harper One stepped up and was like, we want this book. And that just happened. So, I was saying in another interview, when God is directing something, I mean, it just happens. Like, you don't have to work hard at it. You just walk in it. The door is open, and we just have to have the courage to walk through the door. So 2019, it all just one thing after another, and here she is. And it is.
Well, like I said, it's a beautiful cover. But I like what you say, you just raise your kids. But there's a certain dedication that goes into raising an athlete, and not just any athlete. There are a lot of kids who may play football on the street or what have you, but when you realize that your son had a special talent, and then you couldn't be passive about it anymore. When did that realization come?
Actually, we didn't really honestly know that he was going to end up being all that he is now, or even my son, even my second son, Seth, making the NBA, or, even what my daughter's doing with her IG influencing platform she has for mental health. You just don't ever know. But with Stefan, specifically in college, when at Davidson, Coach McKillop just stopped me one day and was like, your son can play in the NBA. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I really was a doubt. Like, I don't, not that I doubt my children, but it was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
That just seemed like a lofty dream.
Yeah, because it seemed like something that people would say to us often, just because Dell played in the league. And, it was an easy conversation starter, that your kids would play and all that kind of stuff. So, he said that. And then just every year Stefan was at Davidson, he just kept showing us every year. And then there was one game at Davidson, I think it was against St. John, if I'm not mistaken, where they double teamed him the whole game and he never touched the ball the whole game. And I was like, wow, people are noticing him, they're respecting his game, and he can do this. So I'd probably say in Davidson at that game, that was the moment where it was like, wow, you can play on the level, on the NBA level, but still had no clue that things would just be what it is now, and the impact that he's had on this game so far.
Yes.
Did he play did he go directly to Golden State?
Yes. So he's
Okay.
been at Golden State the whole time. Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure about that. I have a question about how do you, in the industry you're in, people tend not to talk that much about, I mean, some do, but and the celebrity status, people tend to lose their faith. They tend to fall into some traps of being worldly and, forgetting their faith. But your children all seem to be very well-grounded in their faith. And how did you, did you do anything in particular to help maintain that?
Other than, which is a major thing, so I won't underscore it, but constantly pouring into them scripture, writing scriptures on our walls in our homes, putting scripture under their mattresses when they didn't know it, even as adults, going to their homes and just listening and going into prayer and going, you know what, I'm going to trust prayer because I've already raised them. And so now they got their own families, and I don't want to be that mom that's always in their business. So I would just write scriptures and put it under their mattresses and things like that. They would then, study, be in the book and everything. But really, I just try to live my life because, I often say we don't necessarily fall away from our faith. We just don't practice it enough. We don't feed it enough. We don't
Yeah.
feed our spirit enough because the
We
world,
let life get in the way sometimes.
life gets in the way. And so just encouraging them by sending them scriptures before games, before the beginning of the seasons, by doing all those kinds of things, just to remind them their foundation. And so gentle reminders, because, you know, we all go through it. And it's there. Once it's in here, it's in here. We just gotta reach in there and get it and activate it and utilize it. That's on us to do that. But God has written that the word on our tablets of our hearts. So we have no excuse for that. We just that's why we need the body of Christ, because we gotta encourage each other along the way. This thing called life is a trip.
You're right about that. Now, is this something you touch on in the book as well?
Absolutely. Yes. I talk about that throughout the book, of just, you know, prayer walking in middle of the night, scaring the crap out of them when I'm in a room and like touching them or at the foot of their bed and scaring them, but then scriptures on their walls, encouraging them when they went off to college to, you know, find their scripture, their personal scripture, and to reflect on it often, to find a church home when they could in the cities that they moved, all those kinds of things, to just, again, just gently guide them and just gently remind them the importance of the foundation that their lives have been built on.
Absolutely.
Now, you grew up in rural Virginia, and I'm from Virginia, but I don't know, what part of Virginia did you grow up in?
I'm in the southwest part of Virginia. So I'm in the Roanoke area, Blacksburg. I'm originally from Radford, Virginia, but nobody really knows where Radford is.
Okay, but Roanoke, people know about Roanoke. I'm from the east.
Which is
So.
funny.
I'm from Newport News, so that's on the other
Yeah.
east side of
Yeah.
Virginia. So growing up in a rural area, I know it's totally different from, you know, where you are now, but those rural roots, they never leave. Just tell us a little bit about just your childhood, a little bit about your upbringing and how you ended up being sort of a mom that everybody recognizes.
Well, I mean, I come from a family of very strong women. In Radford, again, you know, I lived in a trailer park for most of my life. And, you know, and I like to say that gave me character and gave me a strength that a lot of people don't have the luxury of having. And although we, you know, sometimes felt poor, my mom we never saw ourselves as poor. And so, you know, as a family, took the whole family, fed into us and helped us along the way. My mom just, you know, as a single mom, just did her thing with us. And that just showed me the strength of a woman to be able to raise her children and get them even into college. Me being the first generation of a college graduate in my family, and not having anyone believing that I could go. I just kind of watched my other teammates at Radford High School and was like, why are you taking that class that you're taking, but I'm not in that class? And so then I would go to the guidance counselor, or actually I would go home, tell my mom that they didn't put me in a class, and my mom would go up to the high school and raise Cain and be like, you're going to put my daughter in this class. So a strong advocate of just us. And we were a very athletic family. I had cousins that came before me, my aunts and uncles that went to Radford High School that went before me. And so we were known as the athletic family in our town. And then went on to college and then met Dell, and the rest is history. As far as us then building our family and having our children, and then him going to the NBA as well. So, you know, all the things that, you know, I don't even see myself as, oh, I was poor and I was this and I'm this, you know, great story of how I just kind of survived this, really challenging childhood. No, lots of people are experiencing that. And, I just had this thing in me. I had this voice in me that always kept telling me, do this. I had this wisdom. I was kind of an old soul and I didn't even know what it was, but just kept telling me, pay attention, listen, and then act. And so I carried that on into raising my children and into my adult lifetime as well, which actually led me to this book. It's like listening to that voice, paying attention, and being like, okay, I'll do it.
I like how you touched on that, because I think that and I've been hearing more conversation on it ever since Candy Burris mentioned it on I guess it was an episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta, but she said that during the episode she was having a conversation and with another housewife. She said we always try to glorify the struggle. We don't always have to glorify the struggle.
Yeah.
So
like
and it
that.
sounds like what you're saying here. We shouldn't feel bad if we had certain things. We don't have to harp on, oh, we were poor and we had to struggle and we had to do this and that. You were a tight-knit family.
Yeah.
And your mom found a way to make it work, just like you found a way to make it work with your children. And I think those are the stories that we need to tell, because the narrative of the broken family is still strong and prevalent out there. And everybody who grew up without two parents in a household did not turn to a life of drugs or to a life of crime or to be troublemakers. There are people out there doing great things. I mean, we've had presidents who grew up in one parent households.
Yes.
And I think those are the stories that we need to tell more often.
Exactly.
And then life is a continuum.
Yeah.
Wherever you start, and then whatever experiences you have along the way. And some of them are good and some of them are bad, but they're all learning experiences either way. And as long as there's progress.
Exactly.
As long as you're not just staying in place and languishing, then, life is short. That's another thing.
Exactly. And I like to say, we all, our lives are different chapters. And so we all got a book. Our lives are chapter. And so the beautiful thing is embracing each chapter for what it brings to your life and what it creates in your life, because that's who we are. We are just accumulation of chapters along this journey of life. And I just had somebody actually say that to me probably a couple months ago. And I was like, wow, as an author, I mean, as a writer now, and just like, I was like, that was so profound. It's so simple, but it's so profound that we are just every situation, every point in our life is just another chapter, and just keep building on them. And the only thing that we can do is give ourselves a lot of grace and love as we go along and go through these chapters, to just wake up every day and say, what can I do better? I didn't do that as well. Okay, but that's okay. And as we say in our family, next play. You can't harp on all the other stuff, the negativity and all that. You can learn from it, but you can't be stagnant with it. And you got to keep moving, and you gotta act and be forward. And that way, if we can give grace and love to ourselves, we can give that same grace and love to other people.
Amen.
Yeah. Now, Steph seems to have a tremendous discipline with his craft. Is that something that you all emphasized, or was that something that he decided he was going to do?
One of the things that definitely he has made that decision to do that himself. I was on the plane today, and there was a show that was done about him breaking the 3-point record, and in his own words, he was just like, every year I try to do something different. Like I reflect on the previous years and how people guarded me, and then where I felt like I wasn't as successful or he wasn't as successful, then he would find a way to combat that for this coming season. And so he just said, just mentally, that's just part of just his whole passion for the game, is just how to keep reinventing himself every year and putting in that work ethic. And again, that's his to own. Like, I'm a hard nose, I'm a first child like he is. And if I could commit to something, I'm going after it and I'm going to give it all that I have. So I think genetically there's that in him, but individually, this dude is on just a whole nother plane. Like, I'm his mom and I'm his fan. Like, you know, I just love to watch him. I just love to watch the Warriors. I love to watch him. They bring
You're saying that even if you weren't his mom,
I would
still be a fan.
still love
Like,
that team. And yes, just because they you can tell they love to play. Like, it's not just showtime. They come out there, they love each other, they respect and love the game. And that's to be admired, you know, that's admirable to see that, because you don't see it often anymore, you know.
Yeah.
No, and I, like I said, I've been a fan for a while. I think they're more cohesive without KD. I think KD was there and he's a great player, not to take anything away from him, but they already had a unit. And when you already have, when you have a team that meshes, it's not always, and that's in anything, not necessarily as a sports, just anything. It's not necessarily that easy to bring somebody in and make them part of the core that you already had. So I'm glad to see the team is back, and they're back in the finals. And that's very exciting, because I just like to watch all of them play, because they're never out of it. That's the thing. They're never out of a game. They, you know, unless they're like 20 points back and it's only two minutes. But if there's any kind of way, they can come back from a deficit, and it's a beautiful sight the way that it's done. So now I want to ask you about your Montessori school.
Okay.
What led you to start the Montessori school, and how long has it been around? And
it's in its 30th year now. I retired, I can't even remember now, 7 summers ago. I mean, time just gets away from you. But it's another one of those God things. I mean, you know, I've always known that I wanted to be a teacher since I was younger, and playing school with the neighborhood kids in my trailer in my bedroom. And then, you know, going off to college, majored in elementary education, then moved to Charlotte and put my children in a Montessori school, because I felt like at the time it was really kind of haughty of me at the time, because I was like, Stefan just needs to be challenged. Like, he's just so smart. You know, he has his mom who's an educator, and he really was a smart child. And I was just like, I got to find something better than, you know, he was in a church preschool, which they loved on him and did a great job. But it was just like, I need to push him. He needs to just excel academically already at 2.5, 3 years old. Like, I'm tripping, right? And so found Montessori in Charlotte, the Charlotte Montessori school. And then one day the head of school just stopped me and was like, have you ever thought about running your own school? And I was like, no, I mean, that was the furthest thing from my mind. And she's like, I'm starting a satellite school. Would you like to run it? And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, I just watch you with your kids, and it's just something about you. So here's an example of someone seeing you, and even as an adult, seeing something in you and going, I see something in you that we don't even see in ourselves. And so long story short, I became administrator for her satellite school, and then decided to build my own school because we were moving outside of Charlotte to the Lake Norman area, and came home one evening and was like, Dell, I'm going to build school. And he was like, who does that? And I was like, well, we're going to do it, and you're going to give me the money. And
But don't worry about all those other
That's
things.
all, yeah, it's minutia, all
Just
that
write the
other stuff.
check.
Yeah. Just say, okay, honey. And so that was what happened back in 1995. I started the school. And again, it was solely out of passion for educating. I'm a nurturer of people. I like to just see them excel in everything that they do. And so started it with a passion from this Montessori and education, had no clue about the business side of it, struggled some with that, but God is good and he has just kept it going, retired. It's smaller now, but it's still operating. And the most important thing to me too is that we are nurturing not only minds, but we're nurturing spirits and hearts and giving them the word of God. So we're giving them the Bible, and and God's word never returns to him void. So we just pour that into them, and the effects is now over almost 3,000 kids that have gone through our school. And so just imagine 3,000 children, and then the families, and then the extended families that, the word of God, the seed is just being planted. So I'm just so proud of that. I'm thankful. I'm very humbled that God has just given me the opportunity to be a part of it.
Well, it sounds like a Montessori school was the perfect fit for you.
It was absolutely.
So you were like the administrator, executive director, or?
I was the administrator with my partner's school in Charlotte Montessori School. And then I was the owner and ran it for 29 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, no, 27 years total I ran it.
So what grade did it go to? What grades were included?
The highest grades that we went through was 9th grade, but consistently we went through 6th grade. So all 3 of my children went there through 6th grade. And then they went to Charlotte Christian for middle school and high school.
So what are your plans now? I mean, I heard you say something. I don't even know if you realize you said it. You said, I'm a writer now. So it sounds like this is not going to be your only book. Don't look at me like that.
Listen. You listen to what you said.
You might be the 3rd confirmation. I operate on 3s and confirmation, and you're actually the 3rd person that's actually said that to me since I've started this book. And God has put on my heart another book, and we'll see where that goes from here. But right now, I'm enjoying this book, and I'm enjoying getting through, playoffs and the games and things.
You don't need to rush it.
I know. But now that it's said, you know how we do, right? When the seed's planted and you're like, I'm going to make this happen. You got to back in and chill for a minute. But yeah, enjoying this one right now. This is my baby right now.
Wonderful.
Okay. Now I have one final question because our time is almost up. How are you able to keep your nerves in check in high stakes games, or are your nerves in check when you're in the stands and so much is happening? And I hope they take the next 3 games. I don't need to have a back and forth. I want them to just take.
I like the way you say. I like the way
you answer that. Just to add to that, I know about what happened with Chris Paul and how he wanted to rush in and try to protect his family when something happened in the stands with his wife. And I'm sure that when you're in Boston right now, so you're going to kind of be in that same position where you're in so-called enemy territory. So I see it a couple of different ways. One, you're watching your son play, and no matter win or lose, you want to see him do well. And then the other part of it is, how is it when you're sitting in those stands and you're in the opposing team's territory?
Well, first and foremost, I'm getting better at controlling my nerves. But people do work you a little bit, and I am probably not the best at being controlled when things like that happen. Like, I understand fans are fans. I understand they work hard, they pay, they come. This is entertainment. Some of these people save up for years. You don't know what they're going on in their lives before a game. And they come out and they sometimes use that environment to just let off some steam. And so I'll let it go to a certain degree. But when then you start calling my child out of their name, I'll usually turn around and give you a warning and be like, you need to chill. Or I'll say, hey, look, this is a family section, be respectful. And then after that, if they're like, whatever, and they mouth off something else, then that's when I'm not as good at really controlling myself. And I never have been. I wasn't when my husband played and things it would happen. I've gotten into a couple of not so good situations. And I'm not that big of a person, so I don't know what the heck I think I'm doing anyway, but I just figure God's on my side. So yeah, as my mama used to say, we don't start things, but we have permission to finish them. So I just kind of got that in my head too. So it's really hard because you come to enjoy your child and you have to really have thick skin, and it's getting thicker. It's getting thicker, but it's still just not there. So yeah, it can be tough. It can be tough, but you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is, and it's a part of the game. And just as much as you have those people heckling you or your child in a game, you have probably 10,000 times those many people cheering you on and encouraging them. So, you know, change your perspective. I try to change my perspective and think about all of that and all the positive that has come out of this experience, and the love and the prayers that have been poured out on my family and my children, and just the joy. Like, we have just experienced unspeakable and describable joy through this whole journey with my family and watching my kids. And, you know, I just thank God for that. Like, we have really, really been blessed.
Well, we're at the end of our time, but we do want people to go and purchase your book. Can you hold it up one more time?
Yes, go
The title is
fire. Yes.
Fierce Love, a memoir of family, faith, and purpose.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being a guest on Black Authors TV. And we want Go Dubs.
Let's go, Warriors.
Yes.
Thank you
Well,
all.
best wishes to Steph, and best wishes to you. Congratulations on a beautiful book. A number of people in the chat already said that they're going to be buying it. So congratulations. Thank you for everything that you're doing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you guys having a great, ladies, have a nice night.
Okay, same to you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, well, that is the end of our show for this week. And we've had a great night, as we always do. We really appreciate the fans who watch this show every week. And we just continue to be excited about everything that we have in store for the future. So it's time to go. Actually, we're 2 minutes behind schedule. So I am off for tonight. Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Y'all have a wonderful evening and a great rest of your week.
And we'll see you next week.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.